during the break, someone came up and, Ron, say what you said, real loud so we can get on.
Yeah, well, I think one of the lies that we buy into, and I know I did this a lot, and still do to some degree, is that we think that it's going to be a long process before we can be happy.
Yeah.
Or that our reward is somewhere in heaven, and
Yeah.
we're just going to have to wade through a bunch of hell before we get to it.
Right, a pie in the sky by and by.
And I think that is a real life. If we exercise and practice these principles, we can be. We might have to stay on our knees for 45 minutes or an hour, but the happiness and the peace will come.
Right. So there's momentary breakthroughs, and when he was talking about that, I thought of a handout that we'll give later. It's not in the book. It's called Rules for Being Human, and it has 6 rules. Does anyone hear that, Connie? Rules for Being Human. And number 4 says, a lesson will be presented to you in many different ways until you learn it. And then, a new lesson. Why? So you won't die dumb. You're supposed to learn how to kick your negative in many different ways, right? And once you conquer it in one field, you get really great with your kids. Here come the grandkids. Then comes this, then comes this. So that by the time you're old, you're really, really smart. That's why these prophets are so old. Okay, now, then we wanted to talk about enmeshment. Enmeshed. Enmeshed, you remember, is a word that we used for infancy stage. What does enmeshed mean? Totally glommed together. The baby cries, the mommy. But I'm a twin, and if my brother cried, I'd start crying. Right? And so we're enmeshed together. The baby gets her feelings from the mommy gets her feelings from the baby. And in the stages of life, remember adolescence, we start in infancy all over again, and now it's with our peers. Remember when we were adolescents and our peers meant everything? If you couldn't dress like they dressed, blah, blah, you die. Enmeshed. Now, what we want to do, since all of us are in the infancy stage with God, is to be enmeshed with Him. And that's why we want to start with thoughts and feelings. We're in charge of thoughts and feelings, not anybody else, right? You want to be dependent, totally dependent on God, and independent from humans. That's the goal, see? So you put not your trust in the arm of flesh. Do not seek the praise of men, seek the praise of God. And if you want a great scripture for this, write down Alma 37:36, where it says something like this. Cry unto the Lord for all your support. This is dependency, isn't it? Whatsoever ye do, do it unto the Lord. Whithersoever you go, go unto the Lord. This is enmeshment. Let all your thoughts be placed in the Lord, and the affections of your heart be unto the Lord. That means He is your greatest lover. Your husband should be so happy that you love God more than him. And you're happy if she loves God more than you. You want to be number 2, right? Counsel with the Lord in all your doings, and He will direct you for good. This is my favorite. And when thou liest down at night, lie down unto the Lord. Whoa! How do you do it? You go to sleep talking to Him. What do you say? Go for it. It'll come. Did you ever ask me when you were falling in love, what do I say to my boyfriend when he calls? No, it'll come. It'll flow unto you without compulsory means. Start trying. You will have rewards, and that will increase you, and it will go more and more and more till you are enmeshed with positive self, which will be God's self. Where does the positive self get his love from? God. Okay? Now, things excellent or difficult, but there are little rainbows that come after the storm, right? Now, for the 3 brain research. At Education Week at BYU in 2003, I can remember it because it's about 3 brains. There was a research in a paper read by Dr. Lynn Johnson, and it was called Our Three Brains. And when I read it, I thought, well, that's a good piece of Christian research. And next month, in the Psychology Monitor, which is a review of some research that comes to psychologists, there was a research called We Design Our Brain. It was totally non-religious in any form, and it said the same thing but different words. The three brains described are upper brain, which he called the angel brain, middle brain, which he called the monkey brain, lower brain, which he called the lizard brain. Lizards won't like this, and he said this funny thing. When the lizard runs into something else, he says immediately, can we eat it? Will it eat us? Can we mate with it? So the lizard is concerned about food. Violence, will it eat us? Right? Survival, food, and sex. Can we mate with it? So, if your thoughts, undetected and unselected, are kept and flow, and they're all about food, sex, violence, drugs, called physical gratification, PG. If those are your thoughts, and you don't even know it, you will be in your lizard brain. And he showed that by cell growth and blood flow, this part of your brain, the lower brain, will grow, and it'll be different than non-lizard thinking people. And you know what for years we've said? Oh, all those sex fiends have a huge lizard brain. Huh? So that's why. It's not their fault at all. Their brains are making them into sex fiends. You have to just feel sorry for them. Boys will be boys, you know. And now we find out the brain doesn't make the sex addict. The sex addict makes the brain by multiplying thoughts, words, and feelings that sexualize the missing females in his life. That's why Stephanie said, you mothers of sons, you better read that porn book. Chapter 2 is 10 porn patients, finishing sentences. I like to do porn because. And right there before your eyes, you see you're looking for love in all the wrong places. Female love, because mommies didn't give them the right love supplies, neither did sisters, neither did girls in public schools, and neither do their wives sometimes. And they say, oh, online sex is a lot easier than fooling with Lois. Sure thing, no risk, no failure, you don't have to fight or anything. Huh? Easy, right? Lizard brain. Here's the monkey brain, middle brain. What do the monkeys think about? Their peers, their status, their place in society. They're totally seeking the praises of other monkeys. Right? So this is dependence on humans. Dependence on humans. What will they think about me? Am I popular? Am I the alpha monkey? The big, on the top of the totem pole? Popular. Dependency on humans. How many know people who desperately think only about what other people think of them? And they train their children. And that's what most of our fear-based thoughts are. It isn't, I won't get enough sex. Some people that are poor are afraid they won't eat. They won't have enough money. But usually our fears in our society is about rejection by others. See? Monkey brain. Anger, fear, lust is usually about others. Then when it goes to their bodies, it's the lizard. The angel brain is always the smallest, as Maslow said, and these are the God thoughts. Talking constantly with him, not my will, but thine be done. These are the true love people. God is love, John says, the Scriptures. God is love, and he who dwelleth in God dwelleth in love. You can't be a spiritual person and be mean. It's impossible. I remember once talking to, I used to go with President Hinckley's daughter. One night at dinner, he said, I just love the way Brother Kimball calls me into his office. And I said, well, how does he call you, President Hinckley? Because he was our stake president in those days. And he was the head of the missionary committee. He says, he calls up and he says, Gordon, would you be willing to spare a few minutes from your busy schedule? That really touched his heart. Because some people say, get in here, I need you right now. Can you come? Come, right? Would you be willing to spare a few minutes? Why are they so loving and kind? Because they dwell with God. He who dwells with God dwells in love. He who dwells in love dwells with God, because God is the author of love. God thoughts, love thoughts, and this love is not taking. Often in some of the colleges I teach in, I have a true-false question. See what you do with this. True or false? Love is purposeless and useless. Absolutely true. Why? Because when you use love for a purpose, to get something, it's gone. It's like turning up the light to see what the dark is like. Or pulling up a seed to see if it's growing. Love has to flow. You can't use it to get something done. See, you go home and say, oh, I'm going to give these love supplies to my kids so they'll be happy and they'll grow up healthy. No, it won't work. Behold, their hearts were not right. Right? Remember that saying? It's in the Bible. Many shall come to me in the last day and say, Lord, Lord, have we not healed the sick and raised the dead and made the blind to see and the lame to walk? And I will say unto them, get thee hence, ye workers of iniquity, I know you not. And later explained to the apostles, their hearts were not right. And so it is with love. It must flow. It can't be used to get something, because that would be giving in order to get. Anyway, those are deep concepts. So there's the three brains. And when I read this research, I thought, hey, angel-brained people are preparing a celestial resurrection for themselves in the morning of the first resurrection. Monkey-brained people are preparing a terrestrial resurrection in the afternoon of the first resurrection. Lizard brains are in the evening. They're telestial, right? And there's the three heavens mentioned in the Bible by Paul the Apostle. Celestial, terrestrial, telestial. So think about that. So what am I telling you this for? Because when you think about what you're thinking, that's the first step. The second step is classify your thoughts. This is a good classification. Another one is positive, negative, for the generalists. If you want to get into it, here's some more. And then you throw out the thought trash. You replace it with positives or with God thoughts. And then you will not move to the next one. Another way to think about this is, in the old days, in the olden times, in the Old Testament, people were instructed to put on the altar sacrifice. And now I think it would be good to ask yourself, we don't do that anymore, but how about putting on the altar to sacrifice something in your negative self? So I was reading this talk by Brother Christofferson, where it said, sacrifice something that's in your negative that you hate. And I said to my wife, I am going to put on the altar of sacrifice, burn it up, comebacks. You can't do it, she said. And my temptation was to say, which is a comeback. I could too. That's a comeback. I just did it. I remember once at one of those family night circles, we were going around and they were giving me feedback, and my one little boy, David, said, Dad, sometimes you have a hostile, belittling, sarcastic laugh. And that's what I did. David, oh, no, I never do that. Oh. You're doing it right now, Dad. Don't kids make you be better if you let them and you teach them to shrink you? Let them. Give them feedback. So there it was, comebacks. And you try this sometimes. What would happen if in your family you never did a comeback? Well, you'd lose every fight.